Well, hello everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Running the Gauntlet here in Marvel's Ultimate Alliance 3. Today, we are continuing through our quest to take on the Gauntlets in the third and final DLC expansion, that being the Shadow of Doom. And we will actually be finishing out Phase 1 today. Phase 1 was very short, and the second and final of the phases in the first wave of gauntlets is the level 100 Territying Team-Ups Gauntlet. This one's pretty straightforward, but it can be a little bit technical at points. So let's jump into the 4 different segments, go through what to expect in each area, and then what you need to be aware of to obtain the full clear rewards here. So the first section is a fight against a couple members of the X-Men, and it is in the arena where you take on Proxima Midnight and Corvus Glaive, so a very circular, confined area. The damage given by both sides of the fight, both your team and your opponents, will increase every minute. And another quirk is that there is a Curse of the Vampire active on all of the main mini-boss opponents, mainly being the one where when you defeat the opponent, they will explode out afterwards. And we'll see that here just as we get Nightcrawler finished down. You see he goes down, and then we want to move back because he detonates in a radius about 3 times as wide as the one that's around him initially. As soon as Nightcrawler goes down, we have Colossus who spawns in. Similar story here. The minute time frame has passed, so we have increased damage going on here as well, and we need to defeat the 5 bosses that show up, as well as enough of the other grunts that show up to total up to 100 bosses. Apart from that, this is pretty straightforward. You just need to make sure that you're not locked into an animation, or that you can roll away from the attacks or the explosions as they happen upon defeating the mini-bosses. And as you see here, we're throwing in a couple of synergy and ability attacks into Colossus. He's definitely one of the more frustrating of the 5 bosses that shows up, mainly because of the big and hard to stagger moves that he has. But he's gone down, he exploded upon being defeated as well, and we are now seeing that Psylocke is the next character that spawned in, and she has a lot more ranged weaponry in comparison with her other teammates that we've looked at so far, and really there's only one other ranged character that we need to be concerned about in this portion of the gauntlet. We've reached the second damage increase, which brings us to the 4th boss, which is going to be Wolverine. And Wolverine is very much a melee-based character, so you don't need to worry about him hunting you down from the opposite side of the stage, and he will be running into you to find you if he does need to come after you for that. We go ahead and detonate our extreme attacks just to get him down out of the way. You saw that he exploded there in the background as well. And there is the final character we need to take down. We're well past the 100 characters that need to go down here, so the last bit we need to finish off is taking out Cyclops. And yes, Cyclops does explode as well, but if you're past the enemy defeated threshold that you need for this fight, you don't need to worry about it because you do become invulnerable to damage after the gauntlet requirements have been cleared. We now are transitioning into the second section of this gauntlet, and this is going to take place on the raft from the courtyard where you defeat Sandman and have the interaction with Nick Fury. You will then need to make your way through different portions of the raft, including this laser grid section, and it gets kind of repetitive. You kind of get a feel for what it's going to be or what's going to be required for it. Unfortunately, I was struggling a little bit too much against these grunts because they were walking all the way around this crate. I'm wasting a little bit more time here, but you do have the ability to regain time to the timer by defeating enemies as they pop up. So it's not the end of the world if you do lose a little bit of time here or there, because you'll be able to take out some opponents and regain that time. We've got this last laser grid section to work through, so let's go ahead and jump through that grid here with Thanos, and we'll do the same here with this grid. And it is nice that any teammate that you are not controlling can just phase their way through it. When you get to the cafeteria area, you will be confronted with a couple members of the Defenders. Primarily, it will be Iron Fist, who shows up, and he has the curse attribute that sucks you into him or brings you closer to him. After a brief interim, and I believe it's after you defeated a sizable number of the opponents here in the cafeteria, you will also be greeted by Luke Cage. And Luke Cage, he has probably my least favorite of the curse attributes, that being the Thorns attribute, where any attack that makes physical contact with him will have a portion of that damage reflected back towards you. So if you can prioritize attacks that either do not make direct contact or abilities that have ranged or indirect contact abilities, that's going to be the best for taking him down. And luckily, Thanos' dash attack ability does fall into that category. So with one final dash attack here, Luke Cage goes down. There's one other grunt we need to hunt down before we make our way into the last little section here. And he's actually stuck in one of the cells. Just be aware that that can happen because the AI for these enemies isn't the greatest ever. As soon as we have the cafeteria cleared out, this gate is going to slide open. That'll take us to the force field puzzle section. This first section is very simple. You've just got to hit this icon right there in the very center, and then you can walk another member of your team around the edge. You will then all be teleported to join up with each other from that point. This is a non-mandatory combat section. You can take out some enemies if you want to regain some time back onto your timer, but really what you need to do is make your way into this containment chamber where you first have your encounter with Venom and Electro. And this will be a dual boss fight against Elektra and Daredevil. Elektra has the field that will heal her opponents, so that makes taking Daredevil down a little bit more difficult. And Daredevil has the field that slows your general movement speed, though you can roll and jump through it a little bit more efficiently. But you saw we unleashed all of our extreme attacks there. Elektra went down very quickly, and Daredevil was close to follow with a couple of ability attacks and synergy attacks as well. So we can progress into the third section of our gauntlet, which is a run through Avengers Tower. Now, this is a very important thing to note, and I'm going to talk about the technique I'm using and then my warning against it. So in this training room, we first have Hawkeye that shows up, and he has the attribute that draws people in, similar to what we saw with Iron Fist in the previous section. I am widely ignoring him and just moving around to these terminals where I can. As soon as you take down this first terminal, you will actually be greeted with the second mini-boss of the level, that being Scarlet Witch, and we'll see her pop up right now. The issue that we have with this is actually there's a danger room hazard that pops up as well that you'll want to take down before progressing on, because that's going to knock you away. I am electing to ignore her as well because I'm trying to get through this as quick as I can, just for consistency's sake. You have 10 minutes to take on this whole gauntlet, so it's not the optimal option for taking things out when it comes to getting the full clear condition. If you're looking to speed through it, then I would recommend this because it's going to be better for just your first initial cold run. As soon as you deactivate this second terminal, Scarlet Witch and Hawkeye will disappear. They will just vanish. And the problem with that is it does not count towards defeating bosses. And that is one of the clear conditions that we need to be aware of when looking for the full rewards. This section goes on for a little minute, so I will detour away to talk about those clear rewards here in a minute. But you do need to keep in mind that there are a bunch of danger room hazards. You've got Falcon that is running around here, and he has an electrical aura around him, which can be a little bit annoying to deal with, but he is a bit of a glass cannon, so you can take him down pretty easy as he attacks through. And anytime you stagger out your opponents, they lose their attribute, which they are enhanced with. So you see him go down here. There's a couple of other danger room hazards that we'll want to take out as well before finishing out this final terminal, and then moving on to the helicarrier pad where we will have a confrontation against Iron Man and Captain America. But while we let the remainder of that run out, as it is relatively self-explanatory, I'm going to touch on the clear condition rewards that you need to be aware of. The first set is, of course, running through the gauntlet once, which you'll need to do in order to run it back on a loop. The clear condition for that, it's very simple to get as long as you're aware of or conscious of what you will be dealing with in this section. The second clear condition reward is using your extreme attack 30 times. You will not be able to do this in one singular run of the Gauntlet because you need to detonate your extreme attacks. It's just about 8 times for each of the members on your team in order to get the maximum efficiency out of that. Side note here, Captain America and Iron Man both have the R's that will slowly heal the other member of the duo over time, so them dancing around each other can be a little bit infuriating. But like I said, you'll need to detonate your extreme attacks 8 times as a minimum for each character that in your party in order to gain the benefit of that clear condition reward. Dealing 20 million damage with abilities, that's not hard at all, and you'll just need to run the Gauntlet enough times to the point where you actually get that. And then the final area is defeating 54 bosses, which if you're taking out every single boss the way that they're meant to, instead of that cheat that you saw me use, or that mechanic that you saw me use, of just clearing out the terminals in the last section, you should be able to complete in, I believe it's 3 runs of the Gauntlet. Otherwise, you're going to need to be prepared for more. And this last section, it's very self-explanatory and very straightforward. It's a fight on that first Kree ship against the Guardians of the Galaxy, so that's 4 mini-boss characters in Drax, Gamora, the Rocket Groot duo, and then Star-Lord as well. And each of the members of the Guardians of the Galaxy have the attribute where as they deal damage to you, they will heal a portion of that damage they deal back to them, similar to what we are familiar with our extreme attack rank up here. But they're not super technical and not difficult to take down either. So you've seen here we've already got 3 of them taken out. And with a couple final heavy attacks from Thanos Infinite, we've got the Rocket Groot duo down as well. And that's all you need to be aware of when it comes to running the level 100 Terrifying Team-Ups Gauntlet run. So if you found today's video helpful or beneficial, please feel free to give me a like. Don't forget to comment down below your favorite parts of these gauntlets or things that you have interest or curiosity about. And as always, don't forget to subscribe for more daily content as I have videos coming to you every single day. Thanks again for watching, and I hope that you have a fantastic rest of your day.